In the drainage tunnels beneath a $2 billion entertainment sphere in Las Vegas, hundreds of people sleep on cardboard every night. That is not a detail from the margins of this story. That is the story. This film maps the world not by borders, but by the concentration of wealth, and it follows 13 cities where money has stopped being an abstraction and turned into something you can touch. Gold bars in underground vaults, marble imported by the ton, artificial islands forced into existence against every principle of natural geography. The numbers are extraordinary. Under Zurich's Bahnhofstrasse, hundreds of billions in gold and diamonds sit in fortified chambers below street level. In Silicon Valley, a 6-figure salary qualifies you for low-income housing assistance. In Tokyo's Ginza district, a single square meter of land trades for up to $500,000, and a perfectly square watermelon sells in a gift box for the price of a business dinner. In Singapore, the government certificate permitting you to own a car routinely costs more than the car itself. In Doha, the streets are air-conditioned. The 2022 World Cup cost $220 billion. In Macau, pawn shops outnumber pharmacies, and gambling revenues run 7 times higher than Las Vegas. Norway's sovereign wealth fund, built on oil money, has crossed $1.5 trillion, making every Norwegian citizen a theoretical millionaire. In the Turkmen desert, a city of white marble contains a 6-meter golden statue of a dog. In Abu Dhabi, an ATM dispenses actual gold ingots. But the higher the numbers climb, the sharper the contradiction becomes. In Dubai, at the base of the tallest building on earth, thousands of Ferraris and Rolls-Royces sit abandoned and rusting, left behind by debtors who fled the country rather than face imprisonment. And Monaco, ranked first, is a state with no income tax, 1 millionaire for every 3 residents, and 50,000 workers who commute in each morning from France and Italy because the cost of simply sleeping within its borders is beyond their means. 13 cities, 13 different answers to the same question. Where exactly does wealth end and illusion begin? Here is a place where earning a 6-figure fortune would be modest, yet a salary alone means almost nothing, because the truest wealth is the kind nobody is allowed to count. Welcome to number 13 on our list, Zurich. Let's clear up a stubborn myth first. Zurich is the largest city in Switzerland, but it is not the capital. That title belongs to Bern. What Zurich holds instead is something more potent than political status: the concentrated gravity of money. Its gross domestic product per resident exceeds $90,000, ranking it among the wealthiest spots on Earth. But numbers are not what turned this city into legend. The legend lives on the Bahnhofstrasse, a roughly 1-kilometer shopping street running from the main railway station down to the lake. At street level, it looks almost ordinary. Watch manufacturers, quiet jewelers, calm facades, not a hint of drama. The drama is beneath your feet. According to years of reporting and estimates by financial journalists, the vaults under that pavement hold hundreds of billions of dollars in gold, bullion, and diamonds. The exact amounts are never disclosed, and that silence is the whole point. Why here? Because Swiss banking spent centuries perfecting a single principle: absolute confidentiality. That promise drew capital from every corner of the globe, honest fortunes alongside money of deeply questionable origin, as investigation after investigation has revealed. That is where Zurich's significance and its danger meet. It is the place where the planet's wealth takes physical shape and then vanishes underground, out of any ordinary person's sight. Some cities scream their riches through skyscrapers, gilded towers, and artificial islands. Zurich does the opposite. It stays quiet. Picture spotless trams, the turquoise water of the Limmat, orderly rows of banks along the embankment, and an almost total silence over sums no one can truly imagine. Wealth here is invisible, which is precisely why you feel it in every polished detail. Yet, if Zurich buries its gold beneath the ground, our next destination builds its fortune on something else entirely. On ideas, on code, on ambitions so vast that even a six-figure paycheck is officially classified as poverty. Here is a fact that should not make sense. In a city where the GDP per capita hits $128,000, the local government officially labels a household earning $100,000 a year as low income. That is not a clerical slip or a rhetorical exaggeration. It is a legally recognized designation. Welcome to number 12 on our list, San Francisco and Silicon Valley. The one place on Earth where new fortunes appear faster than the skyscrapers meant to house them. So how does a region this rich manufacture poverty on paper? The answer lies in the geology of capital. Within a 50-kilometer radius of the offices of Google, Apple, Meta, and OpenAI sit more venture billionaires than anywhere else on the planet. Companies that began in the garages of Menlo Park and Cupertino are now worth more than the GDP of most nations. Stanford University functions less like a school and more like a startup engine. Its graduates founding firms with a combined capitalization in the trillions. All that wealth crashes into a hard limit: space. An unfurnished apartment in an average San Francisco neighborhood runs around $3,000 a month, and the line to rent it forms the same day it is listed. The tech boom lifted rents so violently that the city quietly squeezes out everyone who is not part of the data industry. The result is a contrast that hits the eye. Google's campuses in Mountain View feel like a planet from another galaxy. Dinosaur sculptures, brand-colored bicycles, restaurants serving free meals. A few dozen kilometers away, on the streets of the Tenderloin and Skid Row, stretches one of the largest tent encampments in America. This is not accidental proximity, but cause and effect. Here, money stops measuring stability and starts measuring speed. The speed of growth, of scaling, of the IPO. The city runs on permanent refresh, where the billionaire of 2 days ago is already hopelessly outdated. And yet there are places where new money bows to something far older. In Tokyo's Ginza district, land can cost up to $500,000 per square meter, and a single gift-wrapped melon sells for more than a smartphone. Imagine a single square meter of land priced at $500,000, enough to buy an entire house almost anywhere else on Earth. That is the reality of Tokyo's Ginza district, our number 11, where the ground itself is the most expensive on the planet. But the staggering price tag is only the surface of the story. Ginza is not merely a shopping quarter, it is the physical embodiment of the Japanese philosophy of perfection, a place where every centimeter of space is deliberate, refined, and measured with mathematical precision. Nowhere is this clearer than in how fruit is sold here, like fine jewelry. A muskmelon rests in a wooden box tied with a satin ribbon, a gift that can cost several $100s. A single flawlessly round strawberry arrives wrapped in paper thinner than tissue, complete with a certificate of origin. This is not gastronomy, it is ritual, where packaging, form, and the meaning of the gesture outweigh the contents themselves. The reasons behind such extravagance become clear when you understand the concentration of wealth. Tokyo is home to more than $100,000 millionaires, and much of that fortune gathers into just a few blocks, stretching from Ginza Station to the Bay. The boutique facades are designed by world-famous architects, Herzog and de Meuron, Toyo Ito, Kengo Kuma, because here a shop window is not advertising, but an architectural statement. What makes Ginza truly remarkable is what it lacks. No visible security, no fences, no barriers, in a city where public transport is available to everyone. Wealth is not walled off here. It dissolves into a culture of service, into silence, into the complete absence of fuss. That quiet restraint is exactly what makes it feel unreachable. And yet, even this astonishing land value is only the 11th rung. Higher up lie places where wealth stops being measured in the price of a square meter and starts being measured in the geopolitical power of entire states. In one of the wealthiest neighborhoods of Europe, the most extravagant homes are the ones you can barely see. That is the paradox of London's Knightsbridge, where the real fortunes are not stacked into the sky, but buried beneath the pavement. Why? Because the historic facades here are protected by law. You cannot demolish them, and you cannot build upward. So the billionaires who own these houses did the only thing left to them. They dug. The result is a phenomenon the British press named the Iceberg Mansion. Above ground stands a modest townhouse. Below it unfolds a hidden world of several subterranean floors. According to numerous reports, these basements hold Olympic-sized swimming pools, private cinemas, wine cellars, car garages fitted with vehicle lifts, and even artificial beaches. The visible part is just the tip. The true luxury lies deep in the London clay. From the street, none of this shows. Knightsbridge looks almost reserved, with its red brick Victorian frontages, white stucco balconies, cast iron railings, and plane trees arching over the walkways. Yet behind that composed respectability sits one of the highest concentrations of the ultra-rich anywhere in Europe. This is the address that carries the legendary Harrods, with nearly 300 departments and 12,000 lamps that switch on at night. It is also home to One Hyde Park, a residence where individual apartments reportedly sold for more than £100 million, ranking it among the most expensive residential buildings the city has ever seen. Every summer, when owners arrive from the Gulf states, supercars line these streets. Among them, people have spotted Rolls-Royces and Lamborghinis coated in gold, gleaming so brightly that tourists gather with their phones. But the digging comes at a literal cost. Engineers grew alarmed as neighbouring historic buildings developed cracks, and vast excavation pits threatened the stability of entire streets. Knightsbridge shows one strategy of extreme wealth, not the loud vertical boast of a skyscraper, but a quiet expansion downward. And if London hides its money under Victorian stone, the next city goes further still. For there wealth belongs, on paper, to every single citizen. We travel north to the capital of an oil kingdom, Oslo. Every citizen of Norway is, on paper, a dollar millionaire, and most of them have never seen a single dollar of that fortune. That startling claim sits at the heart of why Oslo occupies the 9th spot on this list, standing apart from every other city here. The reason isn't gold, casinos, or man-made islands. It's a sovereign wealth fund worth more than $1.5 trillion, an amount so vast that divided equally among the country's roughly 5 million people, it turns an entire population into millionaires. The story begins with oil. In the late 1960s, enormous reserves were discovered beneath the North Sea off Norway's coast, and the country made a choice that set it apart from almost every other petrostate. Rather than pouring the windfall into luxury and showy megaprojects, Norwegians chose to save it for the future. In 1990, the government pension fund was born, and for decades, the profits of crude oil flowed into it. Today, that fund holds stakes in thousands of companies across the globe and, by some estimates, controls around 1.5% of all the shares on Earth. Yet the true paradox of Oslo lies in its restraint. There are no gold dispensing ATMs here, no skyscrapers racing one another skyward. The wealth is hidden, almost invisible. Electric cars glide silently through the streets, their share of new vehicle sales reaching some of the highest figures anywhere in the world. In certain stretches, nearly every car bought is electric, the result of years of government tax incentives. To the eye, Oslo is simply a calm northern city on a fjord. The stark lines of the Opera House sloping down to the water like a white glacier. The glass towers of the Bjørvika district, clean waterfronts where expensive yachts sit beside public bathing spots. This is quiet, almost Protestant luxury, a place that hides its power behind modesty. But behind that understated surface lies immense financial force, capable of moving global markets with a single decision. Oslo proves that real wealth can be silent, and where Norwegians choose to conceal their fortune, the next city built its entire identity on flaunting one. Compact, fast-paced, and staggeringly expensive. Singapore has no oil, no gas, no farmland, and for decades it didn't even have its own fresh water. By every conventional measure of development economics, it should be poor. It isn't. Number 8 on our journey is Marina Bay Sands, and it stands as the most photographed argument for what this city-state has become. 3 towers nearly 200 meters tall, crowned by a roof platform shaped like a ship resting sideways across the sky, housing an infinity pool stretching almost 150 meters over the bay. The complex cost an estimated $8 billion to build, making it one of the most expensive casino hotel projects ever constructed. Behind that extravagance lies a story that begins in 1965, when Singapore gained independence as a crowded, impoverished port city riddled with unemployment and slums. The island had nothing beneath the ground and not enough water above it. What it developed instead was a system, relentless anti-corruption enforcement, a public education model built around economic utility, and a regulatory environment designed to attract global capital. Most researchers tracing Singapore's rise point to precisely that combination as the engine of its transformation. Today, GDP per capita exceeds $88,000, placing the city among Asia's wealthiest. The discipline behind that number surfaces in unexpected places. To own a car in Singapore, a resident must first purchase a certificate of entitlement before even counting the price of the vehicle itself. The result is that an ordinary compact car can cost around $170,000. The government engineered that barrier intentionally, treating private transport as a luxury the island's density cannot afford to subsidize. Space, air, land, all of it is treated as a scarce and expensive resource. Singapore's wealth is real, but it rests on a narrow foundation: trade flows, financial services, and regional stability. Remove any one of those and the model becomes vulnerable. The lesson here is that prosperity can be constructed almost from nothing, through calculation rather than natural endowment. Our next destination tests the opposite proposition. Qatar is, by one official measure, the richest country on earth, with a GDP per capita of $140,000 per person. That is not the result of clever policy or centuries of accumulated trade. It is geology. Beneath the sands of this small peninsula in northeastern Arabia lies some of the largest natural gas reserves on the planet, the third biggest confirmed anywhere, vast enough to last for centuries at current extraction rates. Number 7 on our list owes almost everything to what lies underground. What that wealth built above ground is even more startling. Doha, a fishing village barely 3 decades ago, is now a post-modern metropolis, its Corniche waterfront lined with towers of glass and stainless steel. When summer temperatures climb past 50 degrees, the streets are cooled by outdoor air conditioning, systems that pour cold air directly onto the pavement. It is perhaps the clearest emblem of the Qatari creed, that money can defeat nature itself. The artificial island of the Pearl Qatar makes that idea concrete. Roughly 4 square kilometers of land were dredged and reclaimed from the Persian Gulf to hold yacht marinas, boutiques from the world's luxury houses, and residences worth tens of millions of dollars. Where there was once open water, there is now engineered wealth. And then came the ambition that dwarfed everything else: the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Its final price tag is estimated at $220 billion, roughly 20 times the cost of any tournament before it. Qatar raised 8 stadiums, laid out roads and a metro system, and conjured the entire city of Lusail out of empty ground. Everything here flows from that single accident of geology beneath the desert. But wealth does not always come from the earth. Ahead lies Macau, where fortune takes an entirely different shape, built not on natural gifts, but on the cold mathematics of the casino floor. One small peninsula once earned 6 to 7 times more from casinos than the whole of Las Vegas combined. Read that again, because it sounds impossible. A strip of land barely 30 square kilometers, wedged between the sea and mainland China, out-earning the most famous gambling city on earth. The place is Macau, entry number 6 on our list, and the explanation begins with a single legal fact. This former Portuguese colony is the only spot in the People's Republic of China where gambling is allowed by law. That exclusivity turned it into the world capital of the industry. The real fuel behind the numbers was not the roulette tourists of the movies, but wealthy players from mainland China who crossed over to place bets they could never make at home. At the heart of it stands the Venetian Macau, one of the largest casino resorts on the planet. Step inside and you find an entire Venice rebuilt indoors. Artificial canals with gondolas, ceilings painted to mimic an endless dusk, stone bridges and squares in the Venetian style. The gaming floor covers an area comparable to about 50 football pitches, and there are almost no windows or clocks anywhere. Everything is designed so that time dissolves and the visitor simply stays. Yet the glitter hides a darker economy. By many accounts, Macau holds more pawnshops than pharmacies. Their windows, crowded with watches and jewelry, line the streets right beside the casinos, offering a fast way to hand over your last valuable and return to the table. That single detail reveals the true price of the thrill. The city grew rich on human hope and human loss. Walk its streets and you feel a collision of eras. Narrow lanes of the old Portuguese quarter with faded tiles, the ruins of St. Paul's, and glass casino towers flaring with neon above the water. Portuguese heritage and Chinese reality fused into one cramped space, where fortune is built on risk and weakness. But elsewhere, there is a place where luxury sprang not from chance, but from the total control and obsession of a single ruler with white stone. A city dressed entirely in marble. Here is a paradox carved in stone. The city with the most white marble on Earth is also one of the least visited places on the planet. That is Ashgabat, the capital of Turkmenistan, and stop number 5 on our list. Guinness World Records made it official. 543 buildings clad entirely in Italian white marble, the highest concentration anywhere in the world. This is not a single showpiece facade. Ministries, universities, apartment blocks, shopping centres, whole districts gleam white, and at noon the glare is almost blinding. Why would a country of barely 6 million people, sitting in the middle of the Karakum Desert, where summer temperatures climb past 50 degrees Celsius, wrap itself in marble? The answer lies in gas and in one man's vision. In the 1990s, when Turkmenistan gained access to colossal natural gas reserves, Saparmurat Niyazov, who called himself Turkmenbashi, father of all Turkmen, poured the money not into schools or infrastructure, but into a monumental aesthetic of power. His successor, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, doubled down. Gilded street furniture, illuminated fountains, and a 6-meter golden statue of the Alibi, the Turkmen shepherd dog, raised on a 3-story pedestal in the heart of the city. The president even wrote a book about the breed. The result is surreal. Enormous avenues built for parades never see a traffic jam, because for years private cars were rare and public life was tightly controlled. Entering the country long required a special permit, so tourists barely trickle in. So the wealth is displayed with maximum theatricality. yet there is almost no one to admire it. Ashgabat built an illusion of prosperity out of state money, staged for the state's own gaze. Our next destination is another master of illusion, but its fortune is measured not in marble slabs, but in the stakes on a gaming table. Macau earns 6 times more from gambling than Las Vegas, doing it inside interiors that recreate an entire Italian city under a single roof. You can walk into a hotel lobby and buy gold. Not gold jewelry, not a gold-plated souvenir, actual bullion, priced by the live market, dispensed from a machine like a candy bar. That machine exists, it is in Abu Dhabi, and it tells you almost everything you need to know about this place. This is number 4 on our list. Abu Dhabi is the capital of the United Arab Emirates, and more importantly, its financial engine. The Emirates sits on roughly 90% of the country's oil reserves, a geological accident that has been translating into sovereign wealth for decades. The funds that manage that wealth now run into the hundreds of billions of dollars. The paradox is that Abu Dhabi built this fortune almost invisibly. While Dubai chased global headlines with audacious projects and a carefully engineered glamour, Abu Dhabi operated on a quieter frequency, money that accumulates rather than performs. The Emirates Palace is where that philosophy finally makes itself visible. The construction bill is reported at around $3 billion. The building holds over 100 domes, corridors that stretch for kilometers, and gardens covering several hectares. Approximately 2 tons of gold went into the interiors, pressed into the stucco, laid into the mosaics, cast into the light fixtures. This is not gold as accent, this is gold as building material. The gold-to-go ATM in the lobby is the detail that travels. Guests insert a card, the screen quotes the current spot price, and a gold coin or small bar drops into the tray. It is a perfectly functioning financial transaction, dressed as theatre. Equally cited is the cappuccino dusted with edible gold leaf, a drink that costs what it costs, partly because consuming gold is the point, not the coffee. The real risk this place represents is not economic. It is conceptual. The Emirates Palace demonstrates what happens when resource rent is large enough and sustained enough to sever the normal relationship between value, labor, and money. When gold becomes a topping and an ATM output, money has stopped being a tool and become a backdrop. Visually, Abu Dhabi is white stone geometry under brutal sun, mirrored facades, and the amber half-light of a lobby where wealth has been pressed into every surface. The gold here has weight, you can hold it. But even here, the fortune has been absorbed into walls and investment portfolios. There are cities where money does not hide in assets. It shines in the open all night long. That is where we are going next. A single building in Las Vegas is bright enough to be seen from space, while hundreds of people sleep in the concrete pipes directly beneath the city that built it. That contradiction is not a rhetorical trick. It is a matter of geography, one layer stacked on another. To understand how this happened, start with what Las Vegas actually is. The city sits on the sand of the Mojave Desert, with no industry, no ports, and no fertile land. What it sells is neon and the illusion of beating the math, a promise that draws more than 40 million visitors every year. In the autumn of 2023, that culture of excess produced a new monument. It is called the Sphere. The structure rises roughly 112 meters high and stretches 157 meters wide, with a price tag estimated at around $2.3 billion. Its outer shell is the largest LED screen on the planet, covering some 54,000 square meters and built from more than 1.2 million lighting modules. On any given night, it becomes a giant eye, a planet, or a basketball, glowing so intensely that satellites record it from orbit. Inside, a screen runs at 16,000 by 16,000 pixels. and the sound system can deliver different audio to different listeners in the same room. Now consider what lies below. Vegas was built in a low basin, and when rare but violent storms hit, water rushes downhill fast. To keep the city from being washed away, engineers laid hundreds of kilometers of concrete storm drainage tunnels underneath it. According to local social organizations, hundreds of homeless people have lived in those tunnels for years. Beneath the gaming floors, the fountains, and the limousines runs a parallel underground city, complete with makeshift beds and shelves assembled from scavenged trash. The residents live with a permanent danger. A sudden flash flood can fill a tunnel with water in a matter of minutes. Roughly $2.3 billion poured into the biggest screen on Earth, and human beings bedding down in the drains beneath it, separated only by the thickness of the concrete. If Vegas trades in illusion, the next city trades in raw demonstrations of power, rewriting its coastline and its skyline. We are heading to Dubai. In Dubai, driving a Ferrari can land you in prison. It sounds absurd, yet the logic is ruthless. The city lures people with the promise of instant wealth, but its laws show no mercy to those who fall behind on their debts, and unpaid loans can mean jail time. So, according to numerous reports, the airport car parks and impound lots fill up with abandoned supercars. Dust-caked Lamborghinis, Rolls-Royces and Ferraris sit for years, left by owners who dropped the keys and fled the country at the last moment to avoid bars. Sometimes a farewell note, an apology, is tucked under a wiper. This is the paradox hidden beneath the shine. Dubai is a city that refused to accept the limits of geography. Where nature offered only desert and a strip of shallow water, humans chose to redraw the map itself. Off the coast they poured artificial islands, shaped like a giant palm, Palm Jumeirah, and an entire archipelago tracing the outlines of the continents, known as the world. Millions of tons of sand dredged from the seabed and rock hauled from quarries were laid down until new shores rose where the sea once lapped. It was a statement. Here, money is stronger than nature. Above the city towers the Burj Khalifa, the tallest structure ever built by human hands. 828 meters of glass and steel piercing a scorching sky. From its upper floors you can watch the sunset twice, riding the lift down fast enough to catch a sun that hasn't yet set at the base. Tellingly, its opening came just as the city teetered on the edge of a debt crisis, and at the last minute, the tower was renamed after the ruler of neighboring Abu Dhabi, who bailed Dubai out with cash. The visual contrast is staggering. Gleaming facades, fountains leaping 150 meters into the air, and a quiet row of rotting supercars baking in the heat, monuments to shattered illusions. Dubai reveals how quickly the dream of riches turns into a trap. And yet, if Dubai only constructs the image of absolute luxury, there is a place where that opulence reaches its purest, most extreme form. A tiny principality on the Mediterranean shore where wealth is packed tighter than anywhere else on Earth. In Monaco, roughly 1 resident in 3 is a dollar millionaire. Nowhere else on Earth are wealthy people packed so tightly together. And here the millionaire is not the exception, but almost the statistical baseline. That single fact places this principality at number 1 on our list, the very summit of global wealth. To understand how such a thing is possible, start with the geography. On the map of Europe, Monaco is so tiny you could slide your finger right past it, somewhere between Nice and the Italian border, 2 square kilometers in total, smaller than many a park in a major capital, yet crammed with more money per head than any other spot on the planet. The numbers sound almost invented. Gross domestic product per person tops $230,000, higher than Silicon Valley, higher than Qatar, higher than any of the cities we have visited so far. Why does the money come here? The answer is old and reliable. Monaco levies no personal income tax on its resident individuals. That tradition reaches back to the 19th century, and it is what turned a bare rock above the sea into a shelter for capital from every corner of the world. But the entrance fee to this club is brutal. Housing in Monaco repeatedly ranks as the most expensive on the globe, with the price per square metre in prestige buildings rivaling Tokyo's Ginza and London's Knightsbridge. And that is where the defining paradox appears. An ordinary person can work in Monaco, but can barely sleep in it. Around 50,000 employees, waiters, shop assistants, security guards, clerks, pour in each morning from neighbouring France and Italy and drive back out every evening. The city of the rich physically rests on the shoulders of those who cannot afford to spend the night there. Picture it, the yacht basin of Port Hercule, where the hulls of multi-million-dollar vessels sit almost hull to hull. The Monte Carlo casino, glowing since the 19th century. Narrow streets where supercars idle bumper to bumper, and a Formula One circuit threaded directly between the hotels and the seafront. From Dubai, with its abandoned supercars and man-made islands, to this sheer cliff above the Mediterranean, we have travelled the full arc of concentrated wealth and seen the price a person pays for a place at the top. One of the richest cities on earth almost never speaks its numbers out loud. In Zurich, fortunes sleep beneath the cobblestones, locked in vaults and encoded in figures no one dares to say aloud. That silence is the starting point of a journey through 13 cities, each answering the same question in its own way. What does money look like when there is simply too much of it? The reason varies from place to place. San Francisco builds wealth out of code, turning garages into empires, while six-figure salaries slip toward the poverty line. Tokyo's Ginza prices a single square metre higher than most people earn in a lifetime and sells melons as if they were diamonds. London's Knightsbridge grows downward, carving palaces beneath the street where there are no taxes, no neighbours, no prying eyes. Oslo turned oil into a sovereign fund the size of a mid-ranked nation and made every citizen a millionaire on paper. Singapore proved that natural resources are optional when discipline and rules are not. Doha bought a World Cup and cools its open-air streets. Macau has out-earned Las Vegas 7 times over and keeps going. Ashgabat raised a marble stage set where the facade matters more than what stands behind it. Abu Dhabi installed a gold bar ATM in a hotel lobby simply because it could. Las Vegas built a screen the size of a planet above tunnels where the homeless live. Dubai drew islands onto the map and parked thousands of supercars beside them. And above them all sits Monaco, 2 square kilometres where 1 in 3 residents is a millionaire, while 50,000 people commute in each morning because living there is beyond their reach. Wealth has no single address, yet it has addresses, and you have just visited every one. If this list surprised you, drop a like and tell me in the comments which city stunned you the most.